Today in this video, I'm going to give you a bunch of questions to ask yourself and hopefully journal on that will really help you figure out what you want to do with your life, what your next chapter is, where your growth is, how to be happier, more joyful, feel better in your body, in your life, in your job, in your relationships. I really believe that powerful questions can lead to massive transformations in our lives. And I did a podcast a few years ago, maybe about a year ago, where I talked about all these questions, and it's been one of my most popular podcasts. So I'm excited to make a YouTube video where I, in person, get to walk you through these questions. So I'm going to dive into these questions. So first of all, my name is Courtney Gray. I'm a body and life coach. I help women get in their best health, strength, shape ever. And that involves weight loss. That involves managing their emotions, time management, follow through, all of the things in order to just live your best life possible. So that's what we're doing here. So let's dive into these questions. The first question is, if anything were possible, what do I want? If anything were possible, what do I want? Now, if you're like me and a lot of my clients, we have pretty amazing lives. And so when we think of that, it sounds so big, but a lot of times when we think to ourselves, if anything were possible, what we want, sometimes that ends up being something that doesn't seem so catastrophic. You know, some people might say, I want an island, I want a private jet, I want whatever. But a lot of times it's, I want to feel good in my body. I want to feel in control. Like when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So let yourself think really big, but sometimes let yourself think on a day-to-day basis, like a more of a granular basis. If anything were possible, what do I want? I know for me years ago when I was really unhappy with my weight and I kept telling myself I was going to eat better and I wasn't. And then I kept telling myself I was going to work out more and harder and I wouldn't. I really just wanted to feel in control of my body. So if anything were possible, what do you want? It's a great question to ask yourself. So consider the different areas of your life. Consider your body. Consider specifically your eating, because it's something we do every day that's so hard for most people. It's something we have to do. Consider your schedule. Consider your time management. Consider your money, your relationships, drinking. If you're a drinker, I have a lot of clients that they would like to still drink, but they would like to drink less or feel more in control. Your hobbies, your friends, travel. Like think about if anything, if anything were possible, what would you want? And you can just choose one thing. Or you can list all those things, hobbies, friends, money, all those things, and write out what you want. In order to create something new in our life, first we have to at least have a little bit of belief it's possible for us. And writing it out will create that desire and that belief. Okay, the next question is, how do I want to age? I think this is a beautiful question that most people don't ask themselves. How do I want to age? What do I want that process to be like? And I'm 48 right now, if I think about what I want to be, how I want to be living when I'm 70, that really changes what I'm doing at 48. So it's a really great question to ask yourself. I know a lot of people my age are starting to think about that more because we're seeing our parents age, but we need to also turn that on ourselves and say, okay, if we want to possibly do things differently, what do we need to be doing now? What do I want my aging experience to be? And do you think you have power over it? You really do. If your thought is no, that is incorrect. You really do. Whether you are the picture of health or whether maybe you have a disease or something like that, you have more power over it than most people might think that they have. So is it possible you have more power over it? And how might that be true? The next question, am I happy with the way I'm living my daily life? Our daily lives, what we do on a day-to-day basis, make up our weeks, months, and years. And so how we live on a day-to-day basis is very important. I know for my clients, they come to me because they want to be healthier, they want to eat better, they want to lose weight, they want to be stronger. And we are talking about how much social media they're engaging in, what time they're getting up in the morning, when they're going to bed at night, how much TV they're watching, all of these little things, these intricate parts of our day that we have total control over that are hard to change habitually, they matter. And so are you happy with all those little ways you're living your life? How you're spending your time and what you're focusing on? It is your choice and you can change it. Is this serving me? And so maybe you talked, when you think about your day-to-day lives, you came up with some things that you're maybe not that proud of. And I want you to think about those things. Is this serving me? I'll tell you, one of the things at the beginning of this year, 2025, is I really thought, I am on Instagram too much. I felt like a mad addiction to it. I felt like anytime I would finish something and I would get up to go do another task, I would check. I check my email, I check Instagram. It's almost kind of like before I task switched, I had to check Instagram and email. I was obsessed, and it had just become a habit. I don't even know what I was looking for. And so me answering that question, I would say, is this serving me? No, it wasn't serving me. So I began the process of getting much better at breaking that addiction, breaking that dopamine hit, and allowing the urge to do it and not doing it. So is this serving you? Alcohol, Instagram, TikTok, your bedtime routines? Are you procrastinating? Is your time management, are all those things serving you? Are all of those things creating a beautiful life that you are excited to live every day? Another question, if it were easy, if I could snap my fingers and have a new habit in place, dialed in my life, what would it be? And maybe even pick 1 to 3, top one, I would pick one. If I could snap my fingers and have a new habit, or either a new habit, or think about an old habit you want to break. Let's make it into a positive. What new habit would you like to have in place? And that's a really great question, because it really hones in on what matters to you most. And again, this might end up being something really small, like Instagram or TikTok, or I want to be able to get up in the morning earlier. Something, those simple daily habits create our lives. So it's okay if it's simple. And then you can ask yourself, so would it be worth a rewiring of your brain to get there? And if you watch some of my other videos, you're going to know that when we think about our habits, when we think about whether we turn to Instagram anymore, whether we think about whether we constantly make plans and then don't follow through with those plans, those are hardwired into our brain. And we can actually rewire our brain to create new neural pathways to live differently, to do things differently. So would it be worth it to you? It's a great question to ask yourself. And how might it be worth it to you? How would it affect other areas of your life? Because I will find with my clients, when they say, I really want to start working out in the mornings, so that means I have to wake up earlier in the morning. What else did that mean? Well, that means I really need to start going to bed earlier. Well, what does that mean? That means I need to stop scrolling social media for 2 hours at night. Well, what does that mean? And so when we start seeing how one little habit can have a positive effect on our whole life. Here's a great question for yourself. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Do I want to continue allowing this in my home? Sometimes we have things in our home that are not serving us. Like I talk to a lot of clients that they'll say, I really struggle with eating those goldfish crackers. And I say to them, do we need to even buy the goldfish crackers? Right? Do you have junk food in your home that you say you're buying for your kids, but you're the only one eating? So common. Or you say, oh my gosh, I buy this taffy because my husband loves it, and then he ends up having one piece, and then I eat the rest of it. Well, then maybe we buy it, give him one piece, and take a piece or two for ourselves and throw it away. So do ask yourself, do I want to keep allowing this in my home? Right? Do you have to keep those things around? Do you have to keep the things? Do I want to keep allowing my phone by my bed? If it's so addicting at night, I just talked to one client where I said, let's actually have a no phone in the bed rule. I have another client, let's not keep, what was it she was eating? I think goldfish crackers in the car. It's like, oh, well, I keep them in the car just in case I get tired, I eat them. Let's not keep them in the car. What else can we keep in the car? Like, you have so much more control in your car, in your home, at your workstation. If you're having a hard time and you keep eating popcorn at work, then maybe let's not keep popcorn in your work desk, right? So do you want to keep allowing these things around you? Here's a big one that you could spend some time journaling on. What do you want to believe about you? What do you want to believe about you? And I'll tell you, if I just come up off the cuff with a bunch of thoughts, when I've asked my clients this, a lot of what I'm hearing them say back to me is they want to believe they can change. They want to believe they can mess up and not shame themselves. They want to believe that they can mess up in terms of trying to create new habits, trying to do better, and get back on track after they mess up. They want to believe they don't have to be perfect in order to live better, eat better, move better, look better, feel better. They want to believe they don't have to be perfect, because that's a society, especially when it comes to our bodies and any weight loss or whatever. Society tells us we have to go on a diet and we have to eat perfectly in order to get the results we want, and it's not true. So what do you want to believe about you, about what's possible for you, about what you're capable of? And then here's the last one. What kind of woman have I been, and who do I want to start being? This one kind of is similar to the other one I asked. So what kind of woman have I been? I'm going to give you my example. When I was not where I wanted to be in my body and my habits, I would say I was the kind of woman that every morning would say, today I'm going to eat perfectly. I'm not going to eat any bread. I'm not going to eat any sugar. I'm not going to eat any. I would make all these crazy, so restrictive, unrealistic promises to myself. And then I was the woman that at 4:00 would say, screw it. I don't want to do any of those. I'm fine. And then I would go to bed and I would start the process over, shaming myself only to start again. When I realized this was a cycle I was living for years, I realized I no longer wanted to be her. So then the question is, well, who do we want to be? I want to be a woman who is a little bit more realistic with what I want to do with my diet and exercise in life. Let's be a little bit more realistic, a little more attainable, and then let's go for it. And then when we mess up, let's be nice to ourselves, evaluate, figure out why we messed up, and do better. And so then you can ask yourself, what is standing in the way of that? Right? What gets in your way? And you can really start to realize in your life, when are the hard moments for you? And then you can figure out why. Why are those the hard moments? Are you on TikTok or on Instagram because at night you feel like you're not happy in your marriage? Are you turning to more wine because you feel like when you're with your girlfriends, if you don't keep drinking, they're going to think you think you're better than them, or they're going to think you're not fun? Right? So when we start realizing what stands in the way of us living the way we want to live, we fix those things. We start to manage I call it managing your mind. We start to say, is that really true? Do I want to think that way? Do I need to think differently? And then we get into processing emotion. What emotion? A lot of times, so many people are eating to avoid boredom, are eating to get out of stress. Right? So that is standing in the way. Let's fix the stress. Let's fix the boredom. Let's learn how to change our emotions or allow our emotions so we don't turn to food. And some flavor of discomfort is going to be necessary. So when you are trying to up-level your life in any way, if you're trying to answer these questions, you want to change, you want to do things differently, you want to be someone different, you're going to have to allow some discomfort. And can that be okay? And if you struggle with I don't want to be in discomfort, remember, if you're not where you want to be, you already are in discomfort. Right? I have clients sometimes that they'll come to me and they'll say, I don't want to restrict too much. And I said, well, let's not restrict too much, but we are going to have to restrict a little. You've been eating more than your body wants. That's why you're carrying more weight, right, than your body needs. So we're going to have to restrict a little bit. And I don't want to restrict. Yes, but you're already restricting yourself from living an amazing life in an amazing body. So make sure you always see that whenever you come up to a place where you want to change, there's going to be discomfort there. But remind yourself that you're already uncomfortable. That's why you want to change. So you can handle discomfort. I just want you to choose the discomfort you are throwing yourself into. And choosing the discomfort of changing and becoming a woman who lives a more joyful, purposeful, feeling amazing life and body is always the discomfort you want to choose. It's just so much more fun in the end. I hope you love this video, and if you have any questions for me or you want to learn about how to work with me, I work with women either privately in coaching or I coach them in small groups. So there's all the information in my YouTube description. Have a great day.